Hello, hello. Welcome to AMA Atlanta. Thank you for joining us for today's event on Decoding D2C for 2021. It is absolutely a beautiful day out there. We appreciate you taking the time to joining us today at noon. We're going to keep this short, sweet, fun, educational. We hope you enjoy your time with us. Before we start, I wanted to talk to you about AMA. AMA is actually a national marketing organization. They provide resources, mentorships, and events. We hope that if you like what you hear and see today, that you'll consider joining us. AMA Atlanta is one of 26 chapters throughout the country. We have hundreds of members, and we would love for you to join. We also want to thank our sponsors that help make AMA Atlanta possible, all the great brands, agencies, universities, and so much more that help to put on the events that we're hosting every month, and we hope that you'll continue to join us. We also have great upcoming events that we would love for you to be informed about. Join our email list, follow us on social. Our next event is on Friday. It's being hosted by our DEI committee. We hope you find this event interesting and that you would want to join us on Friday. And now for our main event. It's Decoding D2C for 2021. Today's event is being hosted by Hot House and Vert. Today's event is also being moderated by Tia Cummings. Quick background on Tia: innovators, an exclusive community of brand marketers from the world's top brands, ranked Tia in 2019 as a 40 under 40 honoree. Tia has worked for United Technologies, Johnson & Johnson, L'Oreal, Kellogg's, and IHG. Tia now serves as the VP of Marketing for Walker & Company Brands, which designs health and beauty solutions for people of color. I am delighted to have Tia with us today. Tia, it's all yours.
Thank you, Nick. I'm so excited to be here today with you all. We have a really dynamic panel here to talk about how they're decoding D2C for 2021 across their businesses. I've had the opportunity to chat with all of the speakers in advance of today, and I'm sure you're all going to take away some really great nuggets. So let's jump right into it and meet our panel. I'm just going to ask each of them to give a really short introduction of who they are and their roles. First up, we have Angela Cannon, the VP of Marketing for Up Faith and Family.
Hi, Tia. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I'm the manager and VP of Up Faith and Family, channel manager, the streaming service under the Up Entertainment brand. So I oversee day-to-day operations of the service, including programming, marketing, technology, operations, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you, AMA and Nick and Jordan and Hot House for having me.
Awesome. Next up, we have Gary Gastel, the CMO and Chief Digital Officer of ZEP.
All right, hi everybody. So yeah, Gary Gastel, thanks Tia for having me today. I do lead the marketing organization for ZEP Inc. We're a cleaning products company based here in Atlanta, so excited to share some insights.
And rounding us out, we have Lisa Cheatham, the VP of e-commerce at Global Franchise Group.
Hi, Tia. Thanks again for having me. And yes, I am the VP of Marketing at Global Franchise Group. We are a strategic brand management organization that focuses on franchising, and we have 6 quick service restaurant concepts located here in Atlanta.
Awesome. Thank you, each one of you, for being here. So let's get into this discussion. The first question that I want to ask all of you is, I think, something that we're all dealing with and trying to figure out now, and that's, what is really the biggest shift that you've seen happen to your business since the pandemic? And is it a shift or a behavior that you expect to remain, or do you expect things to sort of revert back to the way they used to be? And that's open for all of you. So whoever wants to jump in first.
Okay, I'll take it. Everybody's quiet, everybody's shy. Okay. So for Up Faith and Family, the most significant shift that we saw during the pandemic or the stay-at-home orders for streaming services was unprojected increase in our subscribers and our viewer engagement. So it was an opportunity for streamers at that time to really kind of showcase their content, their price points, against their competitors, their value propositions of entertainment. streaming anytime, anywhere, in any room in your house, because you're not going anywhere, right? So it really allowed for us as streamers as a whole to kind of create that search, discovery, that sampling of services at a rate that I frankly don't think we would have experienced without the stay-at-home order. So no doubt streaming had already kind of made their shift and become a significant player in the space, particularly in the TV landscape space before the pandemic. But even during the pandemic, you saw like services like HBO Max, Discovery Plus, CBS All Access, which is now going to be Paramount Plus, I think this weekend. But I don't believe the evolution or the acceleration of growth would have been that drastic, that fast if we didn't have it. And for us, we experienced like over 124% increase in subscribers and over 200 increase in our views and our hours watched. To your question is, will it revert back? Yeah, to some degree, I do believe that it will, because we have to get back to life. We have to get back to work and to school. But now people understand or know what 2 or 3 services they like. You know, they might have Hulu or Amazon or I don't know, if they have kids, they have Disney Plus. They have those niche services. So everyone's pretty settled in now. But now it's up to the streamers to, you know, do their due diligence to make sure that they're creating and delighting their customers and creating that relationship so that streaming fatigue doesn't kick in, and that, you know, you're being cognizant of the rising price of all the streaming services. If you have multiple, you're being cognizant of that, and you're ensuring that your customers know that you're bringing value to them. So you're, you know, and doing that by displaying the depth and the breadth of your content so you can retain your customers.
That's great. No, it makes a ton of sense. Who isn't streaming more content these days?
Right.
Gary, Lisa, anything else you would add?
Yeah, so we launched our direct-to-consumer e-commerce platform for our Great American Cookies brand 5 months before the pandemic started, and it just happened to be, you know, the right time. We really were just testing to see what the consumer response would be. Would people want to order cookies online and have them shipped to their homes? So when the pandemic started and everything was shut down, the majority of our store locations were closed. So people still wanted that feel-good treat to know, like, I want my cookie, I normally get that. How can I get that? And so we saw increases in digital ordering, third-party delivery, and then of course our D2C channel was there. That was still kind of relatively unknown. So we upped our spending on our Facebook and social ads, where people were spending a lot of time. And in April and May, we saw 4 to 5 times the sales that we had done in an average month. So it was just incredible spike, and it was still relatively new. So we were still in the brand awareness phase. But since then, I do anticipate that we will continue to see this significant shift in digital ordering for our brand. Customers now know that there's another way to be able to order their cookies without hopping in their car and going to the mall or going to a shopping center. And so we've seen our customer retention rates continue to grow each month.
That's great. I mean, how fortuitous that you guys launched that right before the pandemic, not even knowing.
Exactly.
Gary, anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll add a few things while Nick drinks that delicious coffee that he's drinking. So anyway, a few things. So our company plays in both B2B and B2C. And, you know, as marketers, it feels like we're probably going to have to refresh all our segmentation studies based on, you know, people's attitudes towards hygiene and, you know, wearing masks, not wearing masks, fear, et cetera. But in general, a few interesting tidbits that we've learned over the past year. When I think about businesses, they have to develop the right confidence for their customers, right? So there's, you know, you think about a restaurant, right? Going to a restaurant, even after the pandemic, there's that, you know, businesses are kind of self-segmenting themselves, where you go to a restaurant, they've gone through the extra mile, they have extra cleaning products, they have signage on the windows, and then some other restaurants don't. And by that, those things that weren't really relevant before, now they are catering to different audiences. So we're seeing that with restaurants. You know, we're seeing it from a direct-to-consumer and customer perspective. It's amazing. We never had companies like schools, for example, buying products online. And now you think about how it's easy for them to just have a bid and, you know, just go ahead and purchase their products. So we're catering to a lot more schools, The transportation industry has shifted their behaviors. So we do see a shift towards biosecurity, and it's really around prevention. Think about what 9/11 did for us for security and how businesses changed how they think about security, and airlines changed how they think about security. Now they're shifting towards what we're calling biosecurity. So that's on the business side. On the consumer side, behaviors are shifting also. We do think there's going to be a return to our relatively new normal, but it's a new normal. It's not the same normal that was there before. One thing that's critical is that consumers are buying brands that they never bought before. They're opening up their aperture and trying different things. So a company like us, like Zap, consumers who never really tried our brand and who were familiar with other brands, they're now trying our brand because they've encountered it throughout the pandemic. So every kind of disruption has an opportunity, and that's what we're seeing. Consumers are willing to try new things that they never tried before.
No, that's great. I think it's a really good point, right? Is this has spurred some changes in behavior, and it'll be really interesting to see how that continues. I think related to that, a question I'd love to ask both Lisa and Gary is, are you seeing different customer profiles who are buying you online versus in your other channels like brick and mortar?
Yeah, I'll take this one first. Yeah, the um, different, and I would say different assortment. So the customer profile. So for Zep, we traditionally cater towards more the professional consumer, the commercial industrial consumer. We started, with the shortages of hand sanitizer, we started seeing consumers that we never catered to before in our brand, and it was interesting because we started seeing those profiles of consumers who never tried us, and we had to cater to them differently. A lot of were consumers who never tried industrial products before, and so we had to shift how we think about catering to them, their attitudes towards service, their attitudes towards assortment, pack size. That has shifted significantly since the pandemic started.
Lisa, what about you?
So we have seen a difference in our brick and mortar location customer, not necessarily in terms of the profile, but how they use us. So before, our traditional customer was coming as a treat while they're shopping, or they're coming to get one of our popular cookie cakes for a celebration at home. And what we found for our direct to consumer e-commerce customers is they're using us more for gifting. So just by doing some customer listening through our customer service channels, we saw people were saying, hey, I forgot to add a message. Can you tell my grandma happy birthday? Or I miss you. I can't be there. And so from there, we kind of took a deep dive to say, hey, where are our customers living? Where are they sending these packages to? So we realized that it wasn't more personal consumption, but more for a gifting occasion. And so with that insight, we are now converting some of our messaging on our website to be more gifting focused. We're enhancing some website functionality to allow you to purchase a gift today that their birthday might be in 2 weeks and have it order ahead, the ability to order and ship to multiple addresses, even changing some of our creative in our ad copy to be more gifting occasions. We started that around Valentine's Day a couple of weeks ago, and we had a really strong season there. And so now we're just gearing up for Mother's Day and the graduation season.
That's super interesting of how just listening in and noticing how people are using your service or buying your product has evolved. And now it's forcing you to sort of change some of your approaches to your marketing, which actually leads very nicely into my next question. And that wasn't even staged, is how have, you guys sort of evolved your marketing strategies to sort of keep up with the changes? Angela, I'd love to ask you that first.
Yeah, sure. So for us, being a streaming service at the time, if you all can remember, it seems like so long ago, but at the time, we quickly pivoted and offered free content in front of our paywall. So we were trying not only to bring awareness to Faith and Family and making sure that our customers knew we're all in this together, but we also wanted to reach out through PR efforts and social media and make sure that they knew no credit card required, just enjoy some free, positive, family-friendly content on us. But since then, and with the influx of new subscribers onto the service, we've been able to get savvier in our marketing strategy, particularly with acquisition and retention marketing. So we're finding new ways to diversify the top of the funnel while we're, protecting the middle and the bottom of the funnel. So one way we did this, during the pandemic and even now, is to get creative with our top tiered shows and reach out to talent. And, while they're at home and they're stuck in the pandemic, we wanted them to have relatable content. What are you doing at home? How are you coping with the pandemic? And we use that as, additional content onto the service. And finally, with free trialers, we wanted to make sure that as they came in as free trialers, hopefully becoming paid subscribers, we wanted to retain them. So we really worked hard at making sure that the customer experience was smooth and seamless. That, really trying to enforce our values. So making search and discovery of the content easy, highlighting new content every week, exclusive content that you can only find here on At Faith and Family, making sure that it was present and prominent on our front page, front and center. Understanding that, what their viewing behaviors were, what were their first watch viewer titles when they came in, making things like top 10 movies, like you'll see that on Netflix, top 10, or, what others are watching, and really kind of creating a killer onboarding experience, instructional video, so they knew what they were getting when they came into the platform. So that basically helped to take all the guesswork out of the service, and so that they could easily navigate it, and making sure that we kind of retained our customers as much as possible. And that was pretty much on the retention side. Acquisition, we did the same thing. We just made sure that we targeted the right audiences with the right messaging at the right time, helping us to garner incoming audiences and hopefully create loyal customers.
That's awesome, right? Sometimes it's just about going back to the fundamentals. Gary, what about you? How have you guys evolved or made some changes to your marketing strategy?
Yeah, it's interesting because hearing that's exactly, the fundamental input to any marketing strategy is an understanding of the consumer behavior, right? So, as I mentioned before, we are catering to new users, and people tried our products who never tried us before, right? So we had traditionally been on an awareness building strategy, and what we're seeing now is we're shifting more towards a share requirement strategy, because if somebody tried a disinfectant, during the pandemic, or a hand sanitizer, now we're, basically helping her discover a wide assortment of products that we have. And so it's been really interesting how we think about awareness and then shifting, and it really changes how you think about tactics, right? Share requirements, loyalty programs, how do we develop the basket, especially in a line? It really shifts resources towards a different approach, and that's how we see the world kind of shifting for us.
Great. So Lisa, I want to come back to you for a minute. What benefits have you sort of seen with this shift to more, direct to consumer e-com buying, or what have you really learned throughout this time?
So one of the things that we have learned is our e-commerce channel is serving as another way for product development and product innovation. So we have been able to determine that we can easily put a product up on our website. We're able to put some ad spend behind it, and then we can analyze it to see what our click-through rates are, what our conversion rates are for products that necessarily may not already be in store. We do have a lot of the same products, but we are testing some new things out. And without going through our typical normal product development process, which is a long life cycle, we're able to quickly get feedback. And so what we've seen is we've had products on that we have good response and good sales. And so we've then opened it back up to our brand team to say, here's some data. If you would like to open that up to your franchise locations, and putting it back to our R&D team. So we've seen that happen, which has been, very easy, and just another way for us to get product feedback. And then another thing that we've learned is kind of once we set the foundation for our e-commerce platform, we were able to say, oh, we've done that. It was rough to get there because we're incorporating our manufacturing fulfillment side that we own, and shipping and packaging. But once we got over those hurdles, we were able to add another brand in our portfolio to the e-commerce platform. So we're hoping to be kind of like the Gap portfolio of brands. We'll be able to eventually have all of our brands have some direct to consumer component. So last fall, we did that with our pretzel maker brand when there's the craze going on baking bread at home and you can find yeast. So we're shipping out frozen bread that you can bake at home. And then now we're looking for our next brand that we'll be able to take direct to consumer later on this year.
That's awesome. I need to order some bread that I can take down. Gary, what about you? What benefits have you seen with this shift to more direct to consumer, or what have you learned?
You know, one learning, and we were doing this already, but not to the extent we do it now, is the predictive analytics, because things change so fast. And by that, I mean become best friends with Google Trends, and there's one, Answer the Public. The other one's called Answer the Public, where it helps you understand what people are searching for, and it helps you diagnose and deep dive what's going on in the mindset of consumers. And I'll tell you, it's been, we check it all the time. We look at it all the time. We understand what's going on, because we really try to stay ahead of the curve. We look at CDC metrics, and that has been, it has helped us tremendously. The other one is just flexibility in terms of our operations. What was working before is no longer working, and so now we have to adapt, right? So we have multi-pack capabilities, we have bundling capabilities, and anticipating that and be flexible. We do that through outsourcing partners or internally. That's how you can win in this changing marketplace.
No, I love that, especially the need to be flexible and agile. Like, I feel like that's the number one thing you need to do
Exactly.
right now. Angela, let's come back to you for a second. I want to understand, how have you focused on delivering more value to your customers throughout this time?
Yeah, we found that during this time was a perfect time to start some retention programs. So one of the programs we started was our Insiders program. So that's geared toward our annual subscribers. So with this program, it affords customers sneak peeks into new content that's going to be added onto the service. You have the ability to vote on new content that you want to see added to the service. You can be a guest programmer for the day, giveaway, sweepstakes, so on and so forth. But we use those perks to incentivize our monthly subscribers to also upgrade, thereby allowing us to increase our LTV for our more engaged subscribers. And then we also created and developed a referral program. So if you like what you see on That Faith and Family, tell your friends, tell your family, and get discounts and get points and so on and so forth. So that has worked well for us. And it also, having both of those programs has allowed us to communicate, to track, to engage our customers at a level that we quite frankly hadn't done before. We're learning, behavior attributes that will help us speak to them, how they want to be spoken to, when they want to be spoken to, on what channels. So whether that's email, SMS, push notifications, we're able to really use the full depth of our marketing stack and our omni-channel marketing strategies. And we dive deeper into the data, just like what Lisa was saying, listening to our subscribers and checking out, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and being able to be there where they are to help and retain and engage those customers.
No, that's great. I really think that one of the best things that brands and companies can do right now is just, how can I add more value, right? A lot of people are having a tough time. What can you do to add value? And that's a mix of things. It doesn't always have to be about price. Lisa, I'd love to ask you that same question. How are you guys offering more value to your customers right now?
Sure. We are kind of just getting involved in adding more value. When we launched, again, it was very scrappy, and we had like 4 basic products, a dozen of cookies in our most popular products. And so we're kind of evolving to, like, now we know that customers are there and we need to provide them more. And so we did start offering a cookie subscription program to kind of get into the whole subscription craze, and seeing, we have faithful customers that would like to have cookies delivered to them monthly. And we thought that would be enough. But from, again, doing some additional customer listening, looking at our reviews, also just looking at the reasons why customers might be canceling from that subscription program, we determined that we do need to add some more value and we need to provide something there. So we're looking at things right now, such as maybe we're providing some unique flavor combinations that are not readily available either in store or currently on our website, that only our subscribers would get. Maybe we're providing some additional branded merchandise as a component there, or offer additional discounts. So we're kind of working on this strategy now. In addition to in our email marketing campaign flows and our automation, we're also trying to make sure that we're providing a little bit more lifestyle content. So maybe we have really cute decorating kits. So maybe showing you how you can decorate cookies at home. And so just being able to provide that additional kind of well-rounded value as people are looking for more things and activities to do at home.
I love that. Content is absolutely a value add, especially like you said, people are looking for things to do. If you have children, I do not, but God bless those who do and are have been stuck at home for months and months
Yes.
and looking for ways to keep the kids entertained. So I love that. So this is really my last question. And again, I want to ask it to each of you. So whoever wants to go first, feel free. But, what predictions do you have really, either for the back half of this year or even going into 2022? What do you see happening in the D2C space as it relates to your business specifically or your industries overall?
All right, I'll go again. All right, so for us, it's the media industry, right? And it is talking about linear versus streaming. And although I don't necessarily see linear going away anytime soon, there is no doubt that cord cutting and the trend of cord cutting will continue. So, now we're seeing major media companies like Disney and Discovery and Sony and Paramount doubling down on their streaming services and acquisitions in terms of just bringing in all of their brands into the space, right? So technology is going to continue to build and it's going to continue to evolve like it always does. We won't just see new phones dropping every month, but, you'll also see new technologies emerge. Mobile usage is going to increase. People are going to be watching content more so on their phones and on their tablets more and more. Access to content is going to continue and streaming is only going to get stronger. So those are my predictions, not only streaming, but AVOD as well. So content is king, but, it definitely is going to be an empire that continues, I think, within the streaming arena.
Wholeheartedly agree. Gary, Lisa, who wants to go next?
Lisa, go ahead and take it. I'll go.
All right, let me unmute myself. So in the food and beverage space, I definitely think digital ordering is continue to have some significant growth as through the remainder of this year. There's a growing demand for convenience, and that has just been accelerated by the pandemic. And many customers, when everything closed and were forced to learn, I still want my favorite food from my restaurants, how can I get it now? They were able to do some hybrid digital ordering, picking up online, curbside delivery, buy online, pick up in store. So I think we would continue to see all of those digital ordering methods continue to grow. However, I do think that customers are missing a little bit of that retail experience. And I know I do sometimes. I just walking in the store and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize a new season of clothes is out, so I've been at home for so long. So I think finding a way to create some of that retail experience online, if that's personalization, providing recommendations, but finding a way to give customers that retail experience online, I think we'll also continue to see some of that the remainder of this year.
I absolutely love that because I think consumers are looking for that, right? Like digital experiences are great, but there are people who you're missing that sort of more tactile in-person connection. So how do you semi-recreate that?
Right.
I love that. I love that. All right, Gary, bring us home.
All
What are your
right.
predictions?
Okay. So, I was thinking more kind of in general terms. I do expect kind of a new normal, right? People are kind of settling into different behaviors, but it really is a new normal, not the old normal that we were a year ago. It's amazing how our behaviors have changed. So it is a new normal where that little part of our brain will always remember that there was a pandemic and it could happen again, right? And so it's one of these almost like subtle changes in how we think, how we act, how we buy. And so those trends will remain. And I mentioned the biosecurity trend in the business industry. I think that will continue. And even on the consumer side, right? How we wash our hands, people are more educated how they wash their hands and how often they wash their hands. So those things could present tremendous opportunities for marketers to come in and really understand the nuances of the consumer, because that's how you understand it's not about reading a segmentation report. It's really talking to them, understanding and engaging with them online, right? And direct to consumer gives you a great way to really engage and understand what's going on. a brand like ours, we weren't on TikTok. Now we're on TikTok. You know what I mean? Like Zap, an 85-year-old brand. Now we have a TikTok account, and I was there last night engaging with consumers around how they use our Zap products. It's amazing. And I would say the last takeaway I would have is build your network of partners, because that flexibility, you're not going to find it internally within many companies, especially older companies like Zap. You have to go outside. And by network, I don't mean necessarily marketing. We have great networks, obviously, Hot House and many other agencies on the marketing side. I'm thinking supply chain. I'm thinking fulfillment strategies, pick and pack capabilities, for direct to consumer, because that's how you learn, right? You go outside, you figure out how to get things quickly, and then experiment. And then once you know something works, and you build it in house, right? But make sure that you're building that network. For any marketer, that was my number one advice.
I love that. So, I mean, I don't know if anyone else was taking notes, but I was. I feel like there was a lot here that people can take away in terms of, what should your brands, what should your companies be doing during this time to succeed? I mean, we talked about being adaptable and being flexible, right? How are you able to quickly pivot because behaviors have changed and things have changed? Really going back to the fundamentals. The number one thing is, how can we understand our consumers and how they've evolved and how their behaviors have changed, so that we can better meet their needs, right? And so that we can better offer them more value. And I think each of you guys talked about how to deliver value in more ways. Is it pricing? Is it loyalty programs? Is it content to engage a stuck-at-home audience? I think all of those are really relevant. And then the other big thing that I really loved is how each of you you're testing and learning. I could easily see how in this environment, people start freaking out and like, well, let's just stick with what's tried and true. But no, using this as a time to really, reach out to your audiences and see how you can test and learn to do things that will help you drive more growth later on. So this has been really, really great for me so far. I am now going to pivot to the audience and see what questions that have come in. And there are a few, so I'm going to go in order here. The first one we have here from Kelly: are you all exploring any other avenues or channels to sell your products with the growth in consumers wanting things shipped directly to them?
We have actually opened up a channel on Amazon. So we started selling our cookies on Amazon. We didn't know if that was going to work or not, but we feel like everybody is there. And so let's try it. We have a different type of product. We bake cookies fresh to order. So we're doing our own fulfillment. But Amazon surprisingly has performed pretty well for us. We started it last April, and in December for the holiday, after we had gained, orders, getting reviews, competing against some established other cookie competitors in the market, we had our Amazon sales almost surpassed our website sales in December. So really significant growth there.
That's awesome. So unless anyone else has any burning response, I'm just going to say, hey, we'll have each question answered by one panelist. That way I can try to get through all of them. So we have one from Hannah. While there are typically 4 types of market segmentation, do you think there are any new types of market segments that will come out of the pandemic? Some new kind of segmentation that is specific to a post-pandemic world?
From a media perspective, I'll take it. I was looking over here to Lisa and Gary if y'all are going to jump in, but I'll take it. For us, it really is understanding the data that's coming in. First and foremost, like I talked about before, targeting the right audience at the right time. So we utilize not only who we are, faith and family, to go after those audiences, whether that's on Google or Facebook or whatever, to kind of help us harness what those audience segments will be. But we use our content. So an audience might be interested in romance titles or more faith titles or Black film and TV. We utilize that, but also we take into account some of our higher viewed customers or higher engaged customers, and we turn that into lookalike audiences, and we go after additional people for that, right? So we're constantly, like you said, testing, A/B testing, not only our audience coming in, but also how we're finding them, where we're going after them, like diversifying deciding our top of the funnel in what channels. And just like you said, TikTok and all other stuff, we're not on TikTok yet, but we will be. But there's just a way for us to really kind of span the full breadth of all of the marketing avenues that are now available to us, particularly after the pandemic and during this pandemic now, and making sure that we're reaching the people that would be more and have more propensity to want to understand faith and family and what we have to offer.
Awesome. Thank you, Angela and Lisa, for your answers. And thank you, Hannah and Kelly, for your questions. Next question. Oh, I know this person. We have a question from Alex, and he's asking, how did you evaluate the customer acquisition cost when shifting to D2C? Did you find it was more, less, or the same than acquisition cost for third-party channels? Open to anyone. Gary, you haven't answered one yet. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, it's interesting. I actually had the last one. Check out for the segmentation question. Just check out the one segmentation of one from Google, because that's how on the digital side, right? It's segmentation can vary based on online behaviors. So check that out, because I think right now, you know, several companies can help you really think about segmentation differently versus the traditional, big PowerPoint deck report that gives you 4, attitudinal behavior. That's kind of the typical one. So just check that out. Just one ad. Regarding customer acquisition costs, I'll tell you, for us, it's been challenging because we can tell very quickly what our customer acquisition cost is on an online environment, D2C environment. It's very hard to compare with at least for us, and if anybody has ideas on that, but on the retail side, it's really challenging, right? Because if you start building the trade component with the customer sales component with the resourcing, it's really hard to calculate what a true customer acquisition cost of how customers are buying your product, what it costs to actually a consumer to hear your message, go inside a store, and then buy the product. So we can't compare. What we can do is we can compare across different channels, and Amazon by far has the lowest acquisition cost because we're fishing where the fish are. So I think, as Lisa mentioned before, you got to be on Amazon, you got to go and drive that. Your internal website that has a higher customer acquisition cost, but has a much better loyalty and retention rate. You can measure, you have all the data. So that's how I think about customer acquisition rate.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. Next up, we have a question from Guy. What do you see as your biggest concern related to buyers purchasing online as we move to the post-COVID world?
All right. How about I do the two in a row?
Go for it.
All right, let's do it. All right. So what we're learning, the consumer, there's a fear of the actual buying line. What we found was, especially with the search, is that they weren't getting products when there were damages, and that was really driven by third-party supply. FedEx and UPS had a lot of issues, and we continue to see them even as of last week with the weather, right? So you're kind of bound by, people have adjusted where they expect that it's going to take a couple of days to deliver your product, but you're still subjected to dynamics that you can't control, right? So that's always going to be a factor, and it's an issue. And then the other one is just the product experience. One of the things we've done is to alleviate that, is to make sure that when the customer gets a product, it's not just a product in a box, but they get something else, so that they feel like they've been, that cognitive dissonance after you buy a product, to make sure that you still want to keep it, because returns can kill you as a business, right? So we want to make sure that we're catering to that experience all the way through to the point that a consumer gets the product shipped to their house or their business.
No, that's a great response. And Gary, not that I want to put you on the spot again, but this next question could be directed towards you. The Angela and Lisa, feel free to jump in. And it's from Neil. So shortages made consumers more willing to try unfamiliar brands, including B2B brands. Do you expect that window to close after COVID, or will consumers remain open to less familiar brands?
My buddy Neil, I know Neil. Yeah. So here's my take on that. We did experience a significant amount of shortages. We've adapted our forecasting process at Zep, and I think most companies are doing that now to adjust for the demand as kind of things stabilize a little bit. So the demand and the supply is more level set right now. you'll see, we might continue to see as trends shift, some occasional spikes in different things that would allow that aperture to open again, and you kind of get in and try the brand, try a new brand. It's hard to tell, it's one of these, crystal ball kind of things to understand. I'll give you a quick example. Not Clorox, Lysol had the aerosol, right? So there was a shortage on aerosol. So that impacted very recently, right? And before it was wipes and before it was liquids. So you do have to stay in tune with what's going on in the rest of the world, because they do impact how consumers buy. So I mentioned predictive analytics, super important to be ahead of it and to read, we read analyst reports, we understand what's going on with the market. But it's hard to predict. It's just important to be in tune of it so that you can get ahead of it and be ready with your products to come in and fulfill a need.
Awesome. I think this next question would be good for either Lisa or Angela, actually. It's from John. As your brands continue to refine your business models around the DTC opportunity, how important will personalization become to your marketing efforts? And what new things are you trying to address this?
Yeah, definitely a great question. Definitely what we're working on. It's definitely going to be really important to us, especially as we get ready to add new brands to our portfolio. So some things we're doing is just enhancing our customer profile. So we recently just went back and in our email database asking customers, hey, tell us, who you're purchasing for. When are you purchasing? What flavors are you lacking? So getting that personalization, so then we can then create some additional segments in our SMS and email marketing campaigns that directly tie to them and meet their needs and relevant to what they're using us for. We're also looking to do some new A/B testing and creating some additional landing pages that will be definitely more relevant to almost using those same segmentations, but having more landing pages there that directly talk to those customers' needs. As I mentioned before about the gifting occasion, so we're creating, birthday party pages and maybe, targeting children and kids and things to do at home. So we're definitely trying to take the segmentations that we've learned that are using our products and creating some content behind that.
Awesome. We've got one last question, and Angela, I'm going to throw it over to you. It's from Ben. What are you seeing customers respond to differently than pre-pandemic times? Is it storytelling? Is it offers? Is it convenience?
So I actually think it's all of the above, in this particular question, because people are at home and they're able to sample and get kind of like an idea of what type of sampling services that they would like, that their families would like, that are more prone to their own value system. They're looking for all of that. They want the services to be able to bring those value propositions and put them front and center in front of them, right? So not only do they want great content, and they want a lot of it, and they want to make sure that it's there, there's no buffering, there's no issues with your stream, even though it may be on your end, we will still take the blame. And also it may be just that they want, not only convenience, but price. So they want to make sure that as they're having all this kind of put in front of them right now, the choices are vast. So, what is it that we are going to do differently that our competitors are not willing to do, whether that's price, whether that's content, whether that's, putting more features out in front of them. All of those things are going to matter in a time post-pandemic and even way before pre-pandemic. I think we just are being forced to be more savvy, not only in our marketing efforts, but in our business strategies, and making sure that we understand that the customer really is in control. They don't have to stream with us. They don't have to buy from us. Even though it's a different property from e-commerce, but it's still the same message. Like, they are in control, and we need to make sure that the value proposition that we bring to them on a day-to-day basis is front and center in front of them. So I'm saying all of that matters right now.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave it there. Thank you to our wonderful panel, Angela, Gary, Lisa. A lot of great insights shared. Really appreciate your time. And I'm going to turn it back over to Nick.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tia. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Lisa, Gary, for your insights, for the conversations, for the point of view. I think a lot of marketers definitely walked away with some great information here for sure. So how about a little round of applause for all of you? Thank you for taking the time. There is going to be a survey that's coming your way regarding today's event. We hope you can take a moment to respond to it, and we hope to see you again very soon on our next AMA events. Enjoy the day, y'all.